Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to shift focus from the first floor and move into the second floor and start working on some of the trim and some of the doors upstairs. And so we can turn off the roof just so we can get a look down into the second floor here and turn on blueprints so you can get a look at what everything is like down here. We got a bifold there and a couple of doors and some sliding doors for these closets. So we can probably get to all that today. So I guess we can go ahead and add in this sort of wall thing. I guess that wasn't added in before. It's almost about 2 inches. We'll just say 2 inches either side because it's not even. Turn off our blueprints and get into the second wall here. Say 2 inches there, 2 inches here. You can just draw a line across the hallway and we'll keep it on the red axis. And if you're having trouble getting it to stay on a specific axis, you can just find a spot where it will stay on that axis, hold shift, and then it'll stay there. And we'll just drag it over here and click. And I guess we'll get the wall thickness is 5 inches on that side. We'll just check the blueprint, see what it is. That's about 5 inches on this side as well, so I think that'll work. Get back into the second floor component, draw our guide over 5 inches, and we'll just draw in some rectangles. There we go, delete our guides, erase that line. And now what we can do is pull these lines up. And I guess we'll bring them up to about door height because we'll probably have a ceiling go across there or a door top or something like that. So we'll drag a line across there and then drag a line up to here and drag this one across and hold shift and we'll drag it to there because this is where the roof meets that wall. If you just go in and turn on the roof layer, we can see where the line meets up there. So then we can turn the roof off again. And we'll just draw another line on the back side here. We could pull it across, but we'll have to, I guess we could just do that anyway. Pull it across here like that. And then I guess just pull this line down. So we'll go to the move tool, hit M for that. And just try and drag it down so that it meets up with this particular face. Not working out so great. We'll draw a line across here and use that as a reference point. Pull this down now. And just see if we can get it. There we go. Hold shift and get it to match up with that line. You can erase that line now and that one. And these here. Reverse that face. And we'll actually turn shadows off to just increase the performance a little bit. And again, we'll look at the blueprints. Get out of this component and just see. It does sort of match up with this particular door frame. So we'll go ahead. We'll go into here and erase that line there. And so now we can get into doing the baseboards, and it sort of brings up whether or not we'll have the baseboards go down the stairs. And I guess we can do something simple. We'll probably just have maybe like a one panel come up and sort of meet at the top and the bottom. And so we can go down to the first floor component and get into the baseboard that's down here. And we'll just draw a line from, I guess, step to step, top to bottom here like that. So we have some sort of reference to go on. Now we'll take this line and raise it up just so that there's some sort of clearance, maybe even a bit further than that, maybe say 2 inches. Now we can draw a line from here on the sort of the pink axis, sort of the inference point of this line. So we're kind of just extending this line. Bring it down to there and say 3 inches out from the step. Now we can delete this line and just take this one and extend it down to here. Just so that we can get rid of that break in between, because when we pull it out, there will be a sort of an extra line that we don't need there. And so at the top here now, we'll say 4.5 inches, because that's essentially the height of the baseboard up here. And so we can just draw this in on that inference point and draw it down from here where it will meet up with the actual baseboard. You can erase that line and pull this one up to the top. And so now we can go down to this part of the baseboard again. We'll just go inside the wall actually and drag down a guide sort of on this axis right to there. That says 9. So we'll say actually 11 inches. So then we can drag this line into here, keep it on the green axis, and then pull it up on this guide here to effectively right above where the line is going to stop, which is right here, and drag it up to there so that it will complete that face. We can delete our guides. And we can go back down to here again and just pull this face out the ½ inch that it is on that part of the step. Then we'll just take this face, say intersect with model. There we go. Just so that it sort of combines itself with the stairs. And we'll just see what this looks like. I think it looks okay. So we'll probably leave it like that for now. And then we can go ahead and do the other side as well. And this side is definitely a bit more abrupt, and that's really all we can do about it, but we can draw a line here, and then we can basically just drag this guide over to this wall, and so we have an immediate reference point to that side. Just drag a line up to there, then drag it all the way up to here. Try and keep it on this line. And we'll drag another guide up 4.5 as our regular baseboard height. We can drag a line down here. We can go ahead from here on this point, drag this down 11 inches. And we can go inside the wall again. Drag this over to this line where it meets on the green, and then drag this all the way to the top of the stairs, right to where it meets the sort of the underside of this, right there. I can drag a line straight up, make sure that this all fills in, and then same on this side. We'll pull it out 1/2 inch, and then just say intersect face with model so that it wraps around there. There we go. Erase our guides, and that'll do it for the stairs for the most part for now, I think. We may come back to this, but I think that'll work. So now we can get into doing the door frames before we start with the baseboards, and so we can start figuring out some of our door frames, and we'll continue the same sort of dimensions that we did downstairs, and those were 3 inches wide, and they came out, I believe, 3/4 inch. And so I guess we'll leave that the way it is. We're not going to bother putting a door frame there. We will, however, put a door frame around this, because this will become a bifold door. If we just turn the blueprints on again, that is a bifold door. And if we just look at how much space we have there, that's 2 inches. So we'll say 3 there, 3 on top, and then we'll just go straight to the wall on that side. And in fact, let's just look at our door gap here, 2'11". I don't even think it needs to be that big. What we could do is maybe make this go over 1 inch that way, and then we could just have our door frame go right to the edge there, and then we could bring this out another inch, so that we have 3 inches on that side as well. We'll just drag a rectangle around here. We can erase that bottom one. Pull this out 0.75 there like that. There we go. And then effectively do the same for the inside as well. That, get out of there now, erase our guides, and go back into this. And we'll just look down at the door frame downstairs. All these came in, it was the door frame itself, so that was 1 inch, and then this came down 1/4 inch, and that went through to both sides. So we'll do the same thing upstairs. So I'll go in here, 1 inch that side, 1 inch this side. Drag our rectangle down to the floor. Pull this over 1/4, 0.25. Same on this side. And the top, but we don't really need to draw guides in because we can just reference those 2 corner points. Pull this down 1/4 inch. There we go, erase the guides now. And we can leave this gap here as just as sort of as an archway. We don't need to do anything with that. And then move on to this side. So we'll say 3 inches there. And that actually comes really close to the corner. But I think what we'll do is actually even it up so that it is exactly 3 inches like the other side. We'll just go in here and pull this line to there. Check what our door gap is, about 2'6". That's okay. We'll say maybe reduce that down 1 inch. And so we can go in here and we'll do the door frame a little bit different this time. We'll actually grab these 3 lines and then just use the offset tool and then bring them out 3 inches like that. Sort of a different way of going about it, maybe a little bit faster. Pull this out again, 0.75. Do the same for the inside, like that. There we go. Now we can just, we'll do our 1 inch thing on the inside here again. Drag these in 1 inch. There we go. Now we can pull these out 1/4. Erase those guides. There we go. Now we can move into this window frame here. And we'll do the same thing that we did last time. We'll just grab these 4 lines and do the offset. Do that 3 inches. Pull them out 0.75. And we can just leave it the way it is there like that. 2'7". It's a little bit bigger. 2'6". And I think what we'll do is we'll try and standardize some of these door widths just so they're a bit easier to place the doors in afterwards. So that's about 7/8. So we'll say exactly 7/8. And so what we'll do is we'll just grab these lines here. And then rather than pushing and pulling each piece, we can just grab our move tool and drag it over 7/8 like that. That'll reduce the gap down. And we'll try and do that for all the sort of the main doors, just so we don't need to keep changing it. And so that was for the bathroom door. And then the larger sort of storage room door here is, well, we'll just check the gap actually. The gap was 2'6 1/4. So we'll use that for the bedroom doors. And so we'll just, we'll draw on our frames first and then sort of adjust that afterwards. We'll offset our 3 inches there, like that. Pull this out 0.75, like that. And this door frame is actually particularly thick. I guess because it's on one of these exterior walls, it's going across here. So we will leave it the way it is there. It doesn't particularly matter. It just means there'll be a lot more sort of negative space on one side of the door than the other. We can go in and drag in our rectangles. Like that. Drag this across. There. Then bring all these out 0.25. We'll do the sides first and then the top so we get sort of that line that's sort of consistent across the top here. Now we can check our gap, and the gap is 2'7" and 1/8. So we'll actually try to pick a side, I guess, to pull it in from. We'll do it from this side. So we'll drag it over to 2'6" and 1/4 right there. And that right there, that's about 7/8 as well. So we'll just go in and grab all these faces that we got to pull over. That's all those selected, and then we'll just pull them over 7/8. And we can probably erase this little line here while we're at it. We don't need that. Erase that on that side as well. Now that's that door frame done. Now we can sort of see what's going on with this one. It's our gap here on this side. It's not even 2 inches really. We have about 3 1/4 on this side. What we can probably do is pull this out 3 inches and then push this in 1/4 inch. Pull this side out 1/4 inch. And this will sort of be all adjusted afterwards once we sort of finalize the door width, but we'll just leave it like this for now. And so we'll just drag a guide up from here. And we don't really need to do any more guides, obviously, because everything is sort of up against a wall. Drag this out 0.75 and swap to the inside of the door frame and do the same thing. And then start pulling these in 1 inch from either side. And so maybe what we'll do, just to make this door frame equal on both sides, is actually just go into the closet here, drag this down about 1 1/4 inch, which is what we would need. We just measure this door frame here. It's about 1 3/4 across. So we add another 1 1/4 inch there. We can make that 3 inches. So we can just see if we can maybe pull this in 1 1/4 inch. So say another 1.25 right there. Drag a line across here and delete that. And then we'll need to draw that down to the floor. Drag it across to there and drag it back up again. So that fills in. I can erase that line and this guide. And then drag this line down both sides there so that it sort of cuts off this one to there and then to there. And what we'll actually do for this one is push this into the wall to there and then to there because it's sort of getting caught up on that door frame piece. And then we'll do the same on this side. Draw a line out to here. Draw that to the floor and then push this in and then in again. And erase that and these guides. There we go. And normally this sort of unequal door frame thing isn't necessarily a problem. But when you're rounding this corner, it's definitely more visible that it's narrower on that side than this side. And so just maybe for visual purposes, not even really a big deal, but just to keep it, I guess, consistent, move this in. So we'll grab all these faces like we did before, and then just push this back to the wall. Grab our move tool, and then essentially just pull it back right to the corner there. It's about 1 3/16, but that's fine. And now we can just go and grab all of these pieces, and there's no back, so we don't need to worry about that. Just grab these faces, and then pull them out 1.25. There we go. Just check this measurement now. It's about 3 inches. That's good. And we'll just check our gap. And so with our 2'6" and 1/4 measurement, it goes to about there. So it's actually a little bit tighter than some of the other doors. And so what we can do, I guess, is just grab all these front faces and pull them back to there. It's only 1/16 inch, so it's less visible than it was before. Rather than cutting the closet up again and changing it around, it's pretty close, so we can leave it like that. That's also, again, on the inside, so it's less visible. So now we can move on to, I guess, the interior window frames here. Let's grab these 4 lines, go an offset 3 inches, then go over here and pull them out, our regular 0.75. And we can sort of do the same for this, this door slash window frame combo. Pull that out 3 inches. There we go, that's that one. And now we can move on to the closet, and we'll just want to make sure that, I guess, both of these closets are the same width. One's 5'9" and 7/8. This one is actually 5'9" and 13/16. So how about we just say 5'10", and we'll do that for both of them. There we go. So that when we get into doing the doors, we can just sort of copy and paste rather than having to sort of fudge the dimensions around again. I'll pull this one from this direction, 5'10". Pull that over to there. Delete that guide. And now we can do the frames. Grab this here. 7.5. And we probably won't even bother with the insides for now, maybe. Although we may end up doing baseboards for the inside. So I guess we will just do quick frames here. Just in case we decide to do something with that later on. It's already done. And we'll do our same 1-inch thing here for these as well. And I suppose in retrospect, if you do have a lot of door frames and things throughout your model, you could probably just make those into groups or components. And especially with a lot of them sort of being different dimensions and having to be reworked, it's probably just as well that we made the frames on them while we were changing their dimensions. And now we just have this window to do. We'll grab these 4 lines and then we can start moving into the baseboards. Pull this out our 3 inches. And so that's all the windows and door frames complete, and now we can move into doing the baseboards. And so we can start sort of at the top of the stairs with the same sort of pattern that we have downstairs. And so we'll just click into the second floor here, and we'll drag our guide up the 4.5 inches to the top of that, then our 1.5 inches to there, and then we can just sort of trace this line out here that comes down to there, that goes down 3 inches, then comes out 1/4. Then goes to the floor, and there we go. That's that piece. So now we can delete our guides, click this, we'll group it, doesn't really matter what the number is, and then just pull it across to here, like that. And there we go. That's that first piece done. And so now we can move into doing the inside here. And so like we did downstairs, rather than making this into a component, we can just sort of grab the end piece and go up to make group. And with the group function, you don't need to keep hitting make unique on it. You can just sort of copy and paste it, and it doesn't really mimic other groups. So we'll just draw a line around the base here. And we can just grab this piece and just sort of wrap it around our line here. Like that. There we go. Push that to there. Go in here and just pull this one across like that. Go ahead and rotate this one 90 degrees. Put it there. And this one goes on 2 walls, so we will draw a line in like that. Grab these 2 lines, follow me tool, and click the face. There we go. And we sort of got a short one to do here. We can just sort of do 180 degrees there, paste it right in the corner, pull that across. It's a very short one, but still needs to be done. Grab all of our lines, and then just with the follow me tool, click our face. And of course, it sort of wrapped the wrong face, but that's not a huge problem. Just triple click everything and then just reverse our faces with the hotkey. And of course, if you don't have a hotkey mapped, you can just right click and say reverse faces. Move over to this one. And if you'd like to do a hotkey, you can do that as well. You can go up to, I think it's preferences, and go to shortcuts, and then just scroll down to where it says edit item reverse face. And you may need to actually have the object selected and the function available before you can see it in this list. Yeah, just scroll down to reverse face and you can say assigned or add a shortcut. And you can add multiple shortcuts for specific things if you want to do that. Then just hit the OK button. I'll hit cancel here because I already have it assigned. We can just pop out of this and then drag that one to there and start working on this one. Reverse those faces. Wrap it around to the top of the stairs there and just grab these 3 lines. I can click that with our follow me tool and then it wraps around there like that perfectly. There we go. And so that will do it for the baseboards. So now we can start dragging some doors up. We'll go and hide the second floor. And we have a lot of these baseboard pieces that are not part of the second floor yet, but we can deal with that after. We'll go ahead and grab our storage door, and we'll just make sure that we have the pins and the hinges selected as well for the top and the bottom. And what we can probably do is we'll just make a group of this for now, sort of a temporary group. Copy this. We'll enable our second floor again, and then paste this here. Then we can just sort of drag them right into the corner here of this molding piece, and then drag them over 1/8 and then down 1/8. And that should sort of fit them in there relatively well. I'll actually have to push this one over a little bit further just so it matches up a bit better. And now I guess sort of one thing that we remembered to do downstairs because it was still fairly new and didn't remember to do upstairs was actually adjust the heights of the doors. We did adjust the widths of the doors, but not the heights. So we still have sort of the temporary heights that we'd picked before, which is I guess not a huge problem because we'd have to adjust them anyway. So we can just drag these down essentially to the floor, right to where it snaps there, and then drag them up 1/8 of an inch. And essentially what we can do now is we will go into the second floor model there, drag a guide up 1/8 of an inch like that, and then figure out sort of what the measurement needs to be. It's a 4 1/8. So we'll just grab all these faces on the top here and then drag them down 4 1/8 like that. And then we'll go around and make sure that all the other door heights are the same. And that actually works out fairly well for this one because these two are no longer touching the bulkhead there of the archway. And they're around about 1 inch, 1 1/8 below the bulkhead, so that's pretty good now. I'll drag it down. Our blue axis there, 4 1/8. There we go. So that's all the door frames corrected. And so now we can get back to placing our doors. And so on this one, the door actually opens inward, and I guess that makes total sense. So what we'll do is we'll just grab our scale tool here and do a -1 so that the hinges are on the inside. And then just drag this through so that the it meets up with the inside of the door. Turn off our blueprints. And we'll just drag it over to make sure that it's sort of on the right plane. Looks pretty close. And we'll turn on our blueprints again, paste another door, rotate it 90. And this one opens in as well. So we can go over here, pull this door right into the corner. Just effectively pull it out until the hinge matches with the door frame there. Pull it down 1/8. And just see what it looks like on the other side. It's pretty close, but that'll work. And then turn the blueprints off to see what it looks like on the bottom. It looks pretty good as well. And so now what we can do, we'll turn off the second floor. And I guess what we'll do, just while we see it here, is go and make sure that all of this stuff is on the second floor. And so now we can, we'll go and grab our bathroom door, because this one is actually a little bit narrower. We'll make sure we get our hinges on there as well. And we'll just go up and make a temporary group for this one as well. Copy that. Turn on our second floor and paste it up here. And now we'll just toggle the blueprints for a second so we can see which way it opens. And it is in. So we can rotate that 90. And the blueprints back off again. Bring this over to the corner. Pull it out just so that the hinge is visible there. And then we'll do a -1 scale so that it's on the inside. We can drag it back out again. And so that's the 3 main doors upstairs, and then now we can move into doing the actual, the sort of the sliding doors and then the bifold door over here. And I think what we'll do for the sliding doors is actually just use the main doors again, but of course we'll sort of take them apart. We can hit explode here, we'll take the hinges off. There we go, so we just sort of have our base door, get rid of the door handle there as well. And so now what we can do is we'll bring them into here. Actually, we'll turn on the blueprints really quick for a second just to see which one overlaps with which. So the one on this side is the one on the outside. So we'll actually drag this over to here. Drag it down 1/8 and then over 1/8. And I think we'll hit explode on this so we can just get our base component again and regroup it. We'll say closet sliding door, and then that way we can modify this without not changing the actual door itself. And slide this over to here, and then actually we'll bring it into there just so we can see sort of where it would need to line up. Drag it in further 8, and drag it over to this side of the frame, and that's basically 9 5/16. And pull it off there 1/8 of an inch. And so this now is effectively the gap that we need to reduce. And what we will do is we'll just do a -1 shift on this, which you'll see the reason for in a second. And what we can do is just go in here and start pulling it. And because we reversed it, it now sort of overlaps with itself. If we hadn't done that, it would actually just start pulling off of this side and sort of disappearing into the wall. But now that it's reversed, we can see exactly where it needs to line up and exactly how much further we need to pull it over. So we can say maybe about here, maybe 5 inches, and that'll give us a little bit of overlap. It's not a lot. So maybe we'll bring it out another inch, or maybe even just 1/2 of an inch, say 0.5. So that's 5.5 inches, and then we can bring this panel over as well, 5.5. And even if it were maybe to overlap with the panel itself, so you could pull this over maybe another inch, and then pull these in an inch. So that'd be basically 6.5 inches. I think that looks pretty close to sort of what we're looking for. That'll work. We can move to the inside of the door. We can pull these over 6.5 and then just erase these sort of inside lines. And that'll sort of do it for how the closet will work. Now what we can actually do is go in and draw in a track. And we can probably reduce the height of the door, top and bottom. So we can go into this, and it's already 1/8 of an inch. Maybe we'll make that closer to 1/2 of an inch. So we'll just go in, we'll say another 1/4 of an inch. So that'll make it 3/8, just a little bit smaller than 1/2 of an inch. 3/8 on that side. And we'll do a little bit differently on the bottom. We'll bring the bottom up 1/8 of an inch. And we just need to see what our door thicknesses are at 1 5/8 inches. There's no real gap there, is it? What we can do, we'll just grab both of these doors and we'll drag them in 1/4 of an inch, say 0.25. Maybe even further than that. We'll say another 0.25, so that's 1/2 of an inch now. And what we can do, we'll go ahead and hide these. And then on the outside of the second floor group, what we'll do is we'll start drawing in a rectangle. And so we have 1/2 of an inch, say 0.5 there. Then it's 1 5/8. That's that door. And then we have 1/8 of an inch gap in between. Then another 1 5/8 for the other door. And then we'll say another 1/2 of an inch, like that. So that'll be essentially our frame that we're looking for. We'll bring this down, say 1/8 of an inch, and then this down, that'll have to be 1/4 of an inch. And so we can just go in, draw this in, draw that in on top of it there. And then we can just bring this in 1/8 of an inch for that track, 1/8 inch there. And then with all these 1/8 inches, we can just sort of draw in middle tracks like that. Erase these pieces and our guides as well. And so we can now group this. We'll say sliding closet door top track. And then we can bring this to the bottom and say -1 on it, like that. And just go in and pull these across to right there. And while we're down here, we can say make unique on this one and pull these down 1/8 of an inch, like that. And we'll actually pull the middles up on these ones, and then maybe bring the outside pieces down 1/16. There we go. And we can say we'll go up to edit and then unhide last. That'll bring our doors back. And now we can just copy the bottom track, copy those 2 doors, and then the top track, and then bring it over into this room, hit paste, and we'll just rotate it there and make sure that we know what door is supposed to be on the outside. And that's of course on this one now. And say -1, rather than rotating it 180 degrees, is because the track is a little bit differently spaced on both sides. Drag it into the corner there like that, and there we go. And that will do it for that closet door. And maybe we'll actually sort of shorten the width of these doors, and maybe just to make both of these visible. Maybe what we'll do, we'll bring, this is basically 4 inches wide here, so we can probably pull this back 2 inches, like that. Except the problem now is you get, so the inside one is visible, so we can just hit make unique on this, and then maybe pull this over an extra inch, like that. And then pull the inside panels over 2 inches as well. And we'll just see what that looks like. Yeah, maybe we'll stick with this, just to make the doors a bit narrower, and especially when you decide to slide these over, it gives you sort of a wider berth to access the clothing and whatever was inside. And especially with the door being 1 inch longer, if you were to slide it all the way over to the frame, it gives you a little bit of an edge where the door would actually stick out a bit further for you to grab onto it, and of course slide it back over again. And of course now we'll actually have to go over to this closet because we made the other one unique, and drag this one over 1 inch as well. And that about does it for all of the frames, baseboards, and doors, apart from, of course, the bifold door that we have here, and I think we'll actually go ahead and do that next time. So that'll clue things up here. Definitely more of a basic episode, but all things that definitely need to be done before we can get into the grittier stuff on the second floor, which we'll hopefully get into next time. And that'll be some of the furniture and stuff, maybe the bathroom. I guess we can kind of decide what to do then, but thanks guys for watching. I'll see you next time.